when to sell and when to hold. Hey, what's up guys? Hope you're all well. So I'm doing this video from a comment I had on last week's video, which was showcasing one of my latest refurbs. And this property is definitely one of my favorites. And it had a little bit of me in it as well. I definitely did it to what I think is the higher end of the market in terms of spec, and probably a little bit of what I would have liked had I have been living there myself. And one of the key messages I hit home about that particular project was that you cannot command a premium price if you don't deliver a premium product. And that is exactly what has happened. We've gone over the top in terms of spec, in terms of finish, in terms of layout, and in terms of project, and we have been able to command an over market value price, which is what property investing is all about. Spending the money on the touch points where people see true value and you get a bigger return. And those of you who have been watching my videos for a little while will know that I have been preaching home to why you shouldn't sell these properties, because you can add the value on your balance sheet completely tax-free, and it's one of the key ways I measure my annual performance and my overall wealth. But it has gone on the market. In fact, we already received an offer just below the asking price from a one-time viewing before it did hit Rightmove. And a lot of you, including the person who commented on the last video, are asking, why am I deciding to sell it? And the true answer is that I actually am wanting to keep the property. The problem with this particular property is it doesn't really fit within any of my existing models. I've got a really nice student portfolio and they run like clockwork. And it's like a process, how I manage it, how I find tenants, and how I deal with any small maintenance issues. It's a well-oiled system, similar to when you walk into McDonald's and you order your Happy Meal or your Big Mac and fries, whatever it is. That is a very, very simple process. And as I now move into more commercial and more serviced accommodation units, there is a key rule for me on how I manage those properties. And one of those key factors is partly because I can have staff in a trade and business manage the guests to deliver the quality of service I really want to achieve when I'm dealing with these types of holiday lets. Now, this particular property is not anywhere near any of my trading premises, and it isn't in a location close to really anything else that I've got where it could piggyback off any of the other management. It sort of sits there all on its own, becomes a bit of a management issue for me. It isn't a management issue in general, it's just a management issue for me because I have my process, my way of doing things, and it tends to be the path of least resistance. And this particular property, yes, it will deliver a good return for me. And yes, I can bring in management agents and rent-to-renters and all those different things. And I still may consider doing that. But for me to manage it personally, it's going to not tick all of the boxes to give me an easy life. But there is another factor in making a decision to list it on the market. Not necessarily to agree to a sale, but definitely listing it on the market. And that is the return on the cash left in the deal. Now, I've talked about buy, refurbish, rent, and refinance a lot. And I've talked about pulling all of your money out and then some. And this deal is no different. I am going to pull all my money out that I put into the deal and then some, which is great because it pays me all my money back that I've put into the deal. It gives me a little bit extra to play with, and it increases my balance sheet substantially, completely tax-free. But here lies the issue. The equity left in the deal is more substantial than the money I've pulled out. And the reason being is the GDV, the final value of that property, is so significant that the mortgage balance has to tick other boxes than just being 75% loan to value. And that is the rental income stretch test that lots and lots of lenders have on buy-to-let mortgages. And the problem is, it doesn't matter how much the value of the property is, and it's been valued at 600,000. So in theory, I should be pulling 75% of that value out of the deal. But because of the way it's been valued, and it can't be valued on anything like serviced accommodation, it can only be valued on single residential use or HMOs. That limits to how much you can pull out. So yes, there are other means I can withdraw money if I choose to, like mezzanine lending, second charges, and all of those expensive ways of pulling money out. But pulling money out on a buy, refurbish, refinance has always been really attractive because the debt is covered by the income and the cash flow afterwards is well worth it. And I have an unwritten rule where I want to be earning an absolute minimum of £1,000 net cash flow per property. It's really only worth my time if I achieve that. And this property will, in no doubts, no matter if I rent it to a family, to students, or as service apartments, will achieve that and probably more. But what it won't do is it won't give me a really strong return on the money that I'm going to leave in the deal. And this is quite a unique issue because it never tends to crop up on the day-to-day properties that I've bought and sold and bought and refinanced over the last 5 to 10 years. And that's because the final GDV figure tends to be relatively low in comparison to this property. So here lies the issue, that by selling, you can materialize that cash equity and potentially go and buy 3, 4, if not 5 more deals that produce a net cash flow similar to this single property. And it's that conundrum which has got me listing this property on the market. And I have only done it one other time over the past few years, where it was a student property and the market increased so significantly and I bought it so cheaply that the margin left in the deal was going to enable me to buy 3 other cash flowing properties, 3 times the net income. I have the same issue with this particular property, but there are 2 other things which will determine if I do actually agree to sell it. They are the tax implications. When you sell and make a very large profit, hundreds of thousands of pounds of profit, it doesn't matter if you've bought it in your own name, it doesn't matter if you've bought it in your company name, you are going to have to pay tax. And when you're talking about hundreds of thousands of pounds in terms of net gain, let alone the money it would release, you're talking about quite a large tax bill. Yes, I can offset it against some of my costs, but there's only so many costs you can put through a company. And the other factor is a personal one. I really, really like this property. I've done it how I would have done it if I was going to live in it. I've spent way over the top on the bathrooms and the tiles and the kitchens and the appliances and the light fittings because it is a property that I would want to live in myself. There is no way I would have spent that level of money if I was just going to rent that property. And there's probably no way that I would spend that money if I was just doing it for a commercial in and out buy and sell. I have gone way over the top, but I haven't done it blindly. I have achieved an above market value way more than the pound for pound cost that it's cost me to deliver that premium result. And because of that, I've become a little bit emotionally attached to the property, which is not a bad thing, especially when you have a portfolio and you have an income and you have several things on the go. It's a bad thing if it's your only property or you're just starting out, because you need to know when to sell and when to hold and when to refinance and how much you need to spend. And especially if you're working with investors and joint venture partners, you cannot ever let emotion get involved. But there's no investors, there's no joint venture partners, and there's no one else to answer to bar me. So I've done this property exactly how I like it, and I have become emotionally attached to it. And because of where it's located, it actually can serve me in my personal capacity. I can showcase that to anyone I want to show that what we can do in terms of a refurb. We've been able to achieve well over a 250 grand profit in around 4 months, which is more than most individuals do on larger scale developments. And it's also a really, really nice property to stop by if I'm ever in the city, out for dinner, out for drinks, out with friends, to go back to and carry on the pie, or to go out pre-drinks before I meet my friends. It's a cool thing to have and it's a cool thing to do. And I'm really lucky that I've been able to make these decisions because no one else is involved. And I kind of mentioned this on some of the negative factors of when you're doing a joint venture. You can't have this flexibility. But I've been able to do it. And I have to be honest with you, it's one of the bigger deciding factors to keep hold of the property. Now, don't get me wrong, I am here to make money and I am a business person. And it's gone on the market for offers in excess of 600,000. And I've had an offer from a one-time viewing for 595, which is a really strong offer. But it's not strong enough to make me part ways with the property. However, if I get close to 650,000 for that property, my profit is going to be substantial, as is my tax bill, but the extra income that I'll earn from the higher price will outweigh any of the negatives of selling it. And that is why I would probably consider selling it, because I had achieved over market value, and it will enable me to go and buy more cash flow and assets with the same amount of net money after I've paid my tax bill. So there you have it. That is my personal answer to why I am consider selling this property, but also why I may end up keeping it if it doesn't achieve the price that I am looking to get. What do you think? Am I taking too much of a personal approach? Am I in a really good position that I can make these decisions? And have I achieved a really good net equity and potential net profit on a single refurbishment deal within about 4 months? What do you think? Love to hear your thoughts, but that's it from me. Hope you found the content rich, and I'll catch you all on the next video.